a good time. Put a smile on your face, yeah. KB Cam and Elation Radio. Even brighten your days and help you through the night. Bringing you good music. KB Cam and Elation Radio. And here's your host, KB Cam.
Lady Michelle Austin. I know what you've been through. Don't think that it's only you. Only you. Yeah. Pick your head up, get up. It's only right. Take back your life. Pick your head up, get up. Take back your life. And come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Out loud. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Out your mouth. Hey, speak your peace. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Don't look back. No, I don't care. Speak your peace in your atmosphere. Speak your peace in your atmosphere. Don't look back. Don't look back. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Out loud. Speak your peace. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Out your mouth. Hey, speak your peace. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Speak your peace.
Hello, Thriver Nation. Hey, how's everybody doing? This is your girl, Lady Michelle Austin, and you are listening to Speak Your Peace with Lady Michelle. I am super excited to be here tonight. I have a special guest with me, but I just want to let you all know that this platform is going to be centered around education of domestic violence, toxic relationships, the different forms of trauma. We're going to talk about some self-love and, just all kinds of things that have to do with finding your voice and all those things, right? So I want you to sit back. I want you to get your favorite cup of tea or whatever your choice may be. You might want some Pepsi Cola or coffee or whatever. I want you to get your favorite drink, and you're going to sit down with me, get your pillow out, and we are going to have a good time. We're going to learn some things, and we are just going to have a fantastic time just really digging and diving into those topics that I just talked to you about. So I do put a disclaimer out, everybody. Y'all listen to me. I want to put this disclaimer out. We will not conduct any therapy sessions on this podcast, okay? However, we do encourage you to seek professional help if you feel you need it, all right? Let's repeat that again. Okay. We will not conduct any therapy sessions on this podcast. However, we encourage you to seek professional help if you need it. So I want everybody on here to join me in giving my amazing producer a huge shout out. Yay! Visionary Kimmy Kim. Oh, I love her so much. She is the founder of the Elation family. We have so many things with the Elation family. We have the Elation magazine, Elation radio. We have the Beauty to Ashes Clubhouse, and so much more. So, we just really want to give her a big shout out. We're so happy to be here on this platform today. All right. So I have and I'm going to take me a deep breath because I get so excited. I start talking real fast, right? So I'm going to just introduce my special guest that I have here tonight with me. I'm super excited to have this amazing woman here tonight with me. I just have a couple of things to say about her because really she just is the total package. So I don't even have to give you a whole 3-page biography of her, but she is a practitioner and a psychologist of 33 years. That's a long time. She's been doing this thing, and her practice is Christian-based, and her specialty is trauma. So we're going to welcome our own Dr. Lorraine. Let's give a hand clap for her. Dr. Lorraine, are you there?
Hello. Hello,
Hey,
Michelle.
Dr.
How are
Lorraine.
you?
I am doing well. Yes, I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
I'm excited too, and I'm hoping that the show really gives everyone something to hold on to that will be very helpful and touch them personally in some way and provide some internally supportive comfort. The first thing I'd really like to do is start out with a prayer.
Absolutely. Let's go with it.
Just want to say, Heavenly Father, we just praise and thank you, Father, for all your blessings. We thank you for all of the people in our lives. We mostly thank you for your love and mercy, which is new every day. And we just lift up, we surrender this podcast, this conversation. We ask you to cover all of us and this podcast in your precious living blood. And we ask you, Father, to bless Michelle and the producers. It's been a long time that I've been on radio and TV, and I am very, very thrilled to be back. So praise God, and I thank all of you that have joined in. And Michelle, I'm going to let you start this all off, and I'm going to follow your lead. Hello?
Hey, all right, I'm here. Woo!
Okay.
So in Jesus' name, we certainly do. I know. In Jesus' name, we certainly do receive that prayer. I'm super excited to be here with you. And I know that this is like a taboo type topic. No one really wants to talk about what we're going to discuss tonight, which is trauma. Some people throw the word out too much, and then others run from the word, right? So I thought that it would be good to talk about trauma tonight. And, of course, once a month, you and I will come on here and we'll just talk strictly about trauma and the different aspects of it, the different ways that people can seek healing for it, and all of those different things, right? And you and I will just have a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Go ahead.
Trauma is not an easy thing, but unfortunately we all experience some form of trauma in our lives. And I think it's really helpful for people to know that, first of all of our feelings, being human in our human condition, is to experience different feelings and emotions. And we all go through various experiences in our lives. Some leave heartthrob, wonderful, loving, joyful effects, and others do not. I think, too, that when we look at trauma, we want to look at two things. There is a definition. There is a universal definition. And then, of course, there is what trauma means to an individual. Some individuals, some of us go through experiences in our lives that may feel traumatic to us, but may not fit into the so-called universal definition, and or it may not be considered traumatic for others. So we have to respect one another's feelings and emotions because we all have different experiences in life that leave different scars. Some go away pretty easily and some hang around. So the traditional universal definition of trauma is a response to a deeply disturbing and distressing event that overwhelms an individual and the inability to cope, which causes feelings of fear, helplessness, despair, anger. And then there's the other definition, and that is whatever trauma means to you. I typically, in the therapeutic process with my patients, provide a form to fill out, which helps me know what they consider to have been trauma in their lives. And that's very important because, again, we all have the right to our feelings and emotions, and it's not really for anyone to tell us whether it's trauma or not. There are different types of trauma. There are 3 different types, and the first one is the acute trauma phase, and that means that we had a single incident of some kind, but we were able to forget it. We were able to let it go. We did not let it harbor in our mind and sit and be part of our daily life. The second is the chronic trauma, and that means that we are consistently being reminded, it is repeated, it is prolonged, it doesn't seem to end, it keeps happening over and over and over. And the third is the complex trauma, where we may be exposed to various and multiple traumatic events that are often very invasive and very interruptive in nature, in our thinking, our actions, our behaviors, and interfere in our daily life. So that is just a little foundation of information. And I think it's really important that anytime we are feeling that we're going through something, it's very important to have a balance in our lives of various resources and various forms of positive, healthy connections. Someone we feel close to, we can confide in. We may want to go to a pastor, a deacon, a rabbi, whomever we feel that we are at home with, whomever we feel we can really trust. And that's very important. The other thing is a journal. Write your feelings out. Many times when we write it out, it does help to calm. It does help to take the edge of the pain away because we're allowing ourselves to express it. Michelle,
Dr.
your
Lorraine,
turn.
let me just jump in here because you said a mouthful. This is something to really think about, though. But what I want you to do, I'm going to go back. The 2 things that you just gave about the journaling and about the going to someone that you trust, absolutely. I totally agree with that, and I stand firm on those type of things. But what I want to go back to is when you talked about the different types of trauma, let's give them maybe some examples of those traumas that you were talking about, because sometimes when you're just given a definition, you can't really put it into what I'm really experiencing. So can you give them a few examples?
Sure, I sure can. So the first one was the acute, and that typically references one single incident. That is something that typically occurs one time. it could be any event. An example might be perhaps you have an argument with someone and it is bothersome, it's upsetting, but you are able to make some peace, which is very important, and I will go further on that in a moment. But you are able to actually walk away from it. Another could be perhaps you are somewhere in public and perhaps you bump into someone or someone bumps into you. You're not having a very good day. That person did not mean to bump into you. However, because you're not having a good day, you react indifferently and you feel this spasmodic hyperventilation going on. You're really annoyed. However, you're able to let it go and walk away and in some way make sure that there is peace. Something like, I know you didn't mean it, I'm sorry, it's okay, and you walk away. It's really important when you try to take a position of peace. So I will go back to the peace component. I'd like to give you the next type, which was the chronic trauma, and that is the repeated, prolonged events. And that, an example would be domestic violence, abuse. It could be verbal abuse. It could be mental abuse. It could be physical abuse. It could be sexual abuse. And the third trauma is the complex, where there have been multiple events in one's life that keep occurring. And they're very invasive, getting into our thinking. An example of this could be, it could be divorce. Divorce is not easy. And those of us that have been through it know that it is difficult. But divorce is very hard because it does affect the mind. It does affect our spirit. And it does, in fact, get in our thoughts sometimes during the day. The process itself and the steps you have to go through, especially when there are children involved, can be very, very, very heartbreaking, and emotionally detrimental. So those are some of the examples. And the one component that is actually critical that we really want to try to achieve for ourselves is some peace. And when I say peace, I mean to help. You want to stop and you want to step back and you want to give yourself the gift of peace. How do we do that? So before I get into the peace component, because it's a very important part, I want to give this back to Michelle to see if there's anything else she wants me to touch on for the 3 types of trauma.
Wow. I mean, this information is so well needed. It's needed. It just really is. We have so much that people have been going through throughout this pandemic. It's been causing a lot of trauma. It's been causing a lot of depression. We are 2 years into this now, and people are still, some are still working from home. Some are still the children with the schools, and some are still homeschooling. There's pandemic fatigue. There's all kinds of things going on that's causing some of this trauma. So I'm so glad that you broke it down the way that you did. When I was doing my study for today, I was just looking at some of the, of course, the big T's and the little T's of trauma, and you have touched on some of those items already. And I thought about some of the ones that cause so much hopelessness. And those are, of course, divorce. You brought that up. That can cause someone to really, feel hopeless. They're in such distress, and they really don't know, how this outcome is going to be, whether it's going to be, good for them, bad for them, however it is. Even some things, when they have legal trouble, some bullying. I don't think we do enough talking about the bullying aspect. I often tell people when I went through some of my abuse, I met my first bully in my home before I even got to school when I was a little girl. And so we just think about this kid in school that's beating on your child, but you have adults who are bullies. You have, all of these different things that cause some of this trauma. You have it on your jobs. You have it in your communities, your neighborhoods, things like that can cause some of that trauma. So I wanted to bring that up. And I think one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was, because you've touched so many things. You hit the nail on the head. I know when you did talk about the sexual assault and things like that, those, of course, would be one of the big T's of trauma. Physical injury, of course, witnessing violence, domestic violence, either being in it, being a part of it, or witnessing it. But I wanted to bring up, before you get to the peace part, because that's a major part. So, and our show is called Speak Your Peace, right? So I want to really let you get into that and dive into that. But before I want to do that, I wanted to touch on what some of the effects of trauma are. And so some of the effects are alcoholism, depression, insomnia. There can be some suicide attempts, or you can even have some relationship problems. And the depression part and the suicide attempts have really been on me. I've been praying a lot for those who have lost their loved ones to suicide. Just in the month of January, I think we lost about, maybe about 4 or 5 people that were talked about on social media and on the news and things like that. And it was just like, people thought that their lives were so great. They thought that these people had it going on. They thought that they, had so much joy and happiness and things like that. And then to come to find out that some things were going on in their lives that they really felt hopeless and felt like they needed to take their own lives. So I've really been praying for the loved ones. I've been praying for those who may not understand. I heard someone say, well, they're just selfish to take their life and leave their loved ones behind. And so I've been praying for them, too, because just so they get an understanding of what's going on and what it means when a person really feels hopeless and when they feel like they just want the pain to stop, So, of course, you can talk about that when you get ready to talk about the peace part. But I wanted to bring that up. One of the other things that, and we can actually come back to this part, but some of the symptoms, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about the symptoms, but I looked at some of the symptoms and I realized, wow, I experienced so much of this when I was going through my trauma situations, when I didn't even know that it was called trauma that I experienced. And they are, of course, blaming yourself or blaming others, loss of interest in former activities, change in sleeping habits. I mean, that was a really big one for me, Dr. Lorraine. My sleeping habits were so off. I could not even sleep at night. I would just lay there. I had to wind up getting on sleeping medication. It was really, really, really bad. But I didn't. This was before I started my therapy. This was when I was just trying to handle things on my own. That's why it's so important to find someone who you can trust, that you can talk to find a really good therapist who you can really sit down and talk to, and they can help walk you through the process of getting your healing. That's very, very important. Emotional numbing is another symptom of trauma which includes drinking alcohol or doing the drugs. Well, here's the thing. I started taking the sleeping pills and the different things to help me with my anxiety and all of those different things. But then I started getting addicted to the pills, the medication. Again, I had not gotten therapy yet. I was just trying to handle it on my own. So this is not something that we can do on our own. I wouldn't recommend that. I would always recommend that if you really think you need help, that you should speak to a professional. So I just wanted to bring some of those things up, memories, flashbacks, nightmares. Those are things that will continue to affect us from the trauma if we don't do the things that we need to do to get a hold on it. Right? You agree? Are you there, Dr. Lorraine? Did I lose you? She's going to come back. She's going to come back to us. So some of the things also, disconnection from yourself. That's also a symptom of trauma. Aggressive or risk-taking behaviors. When I think about that, I mean, sometimes people are just out here just, taking risks. They don't want to deal with their trauma. They don't want to acknowledge that this trauma has happened to them. They just go on every day as if everything is okay. When you're looking at them and you're thinking, oh, this person is so reckless or this person is so aggressive. Well, it's because they're not really dealing with the trauma. They're not really sitting down and trying to get the help that they need. And Dr. Lorraine, you can just jump in whenever you can, if you have anything to say about this. A reduced awareness or a hyper-awareness of your surroundings is also another big one. I remember, I think it was about 18, and I had this really traumatic thing happen to me. And it was, I had gotten robbed from the back, but I could hear the girls behind me. I could hear them talking. I knew that something was going to happen. And I had my little baby sister with me. She's 10 years younger than I am. And so I was trying to get as close to home as I could so that I could get her to run and get out of harm's way. I already knew they were going to try to do something to me, but I wanted to get her out of harm's way. And so it was snowing. It was all crazy outside. Well, anyway, make a long story short, I did tell her to run. The girls did push me down in the snow. They did take my jewelry and, some other things. And that affected both me and my sister. It affected my sister because she decided right then and there that she was never going to not be in another position where she couldn't help me. She felt so helpless because she was little and she couldn't do anything. So now my sister is like super protective over me. You cannot even get close to me. If she thinks you're going to do something to me, she is on you like I tell you. It's not going to look good. It affected me because it took me a long time to be able to walk and have people behind me. They could be talking, having a conversation with themselves. I immediately that they were going to do something to me, and my breathing would get all, crazy and fast, and I would just go into a whole frenzy. I would just be a whole mess until I begin to go to therapy and really work that out. And now I learn how to breathe if someone's behind me. I learn how to, get through the moment, because everybody who's behind me is not trying to rob me, but that's where my mind would go. So, just to give that example of a traumatic event that happened to me and how it affects people differently, even though both people are in the same spot having the same exact thing happen, but they have a different experience from it. Dr. Michelle? I said a whole bunch.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. I wanted to, you're right. There are many different kinds of traumas, but some of the symptoms of trauma, you did name some of them. And for trauma, what typically happens are you have nightmares, you can have a rapid heartbeat, you become very hypertensive, hypersensitive. Someone taps you on the shoulder, you jump a mile. Mood swings, confusion, disorientation, invasive thoughts, roaming thoughts. Your mind is constantly ruminating with thoughts and the memory of the incident. So whenever we have those emotions, they are always tied in with other negative emotions that we hold within our physical and our emotional heart. So we have two kinds of hearts. We have our physical, where our heart, it beats, and that is in our pericardium. That's our deepest layer of the heart. And then we have our emotional heart. Someone breaks our heart, we can feel that pain in our heart. We can actually feel the pain. And that comes under the brokenhearted. That might be a good another show to look at because there's a great deal under that topic that we don't have time for tonight. But as far as symptoms, you can blame yourself. Some people get suicidal. Some people get very depressed. Hopelessness, helplessness, anger, fear, resentment. These are the emotions that are very natural. We all have, and everyone has a right to feel what they feel. The most important thing to realize is that we're all children of God. We are all created from His likeness. And we all have the Spirit of God in us, which means we have the ability to get beyond where we are. And what I wanted to say about the peace component is we want to try to make some level of peace wherever we can. Some situations it's very difficult. People won't cooperate or respond. But I want to step back about the peace. And it's tied in with the toolbox that we can do for ourselves to give ourselves some help. So in trying to create peace, one of the things we want to do that is in the toolbox I'm going to give tonight is we want to try to step back. If we are in a situation that we are trying to make peace with someone. It could be anything. It could be something real basic. It could be something more important. But the foundation is the peace foundation. The first thing you want to do always, you always want to be able to say to yourself, I forgive myself. And you want to be able to forgive the other person or persons involved. So the way that we would handle that is if you're in a situation where you're feeling compromised, there's nowhere to go, you don't get the cooperation you need, and people are not responding, all you simply have to do is say, I hear you, I'm listening. I don't have an answer right now. I need to walk away and think and process. Let's regroup at another time. Let's give each other a chance to think about what we feel and what we're saying. And then what you do on your own privately is write out for yourself, what was my responsibility in this situation? What was their responsibility in this situation? And then what you do is you say a prayer. You say, Jesus, I surrender myself and this whole incident and this person or persons involved. I surrender it all to you. Take over. Amen. That's what you do. Simple, simple prayer.
Amen.
But the peace component is very, very important, because you always want to do your best to do what Jesus would have done. And he always told the truth. He always listened. He always said his piece, but he was brief. He didn't get angry. He didn't try to talk over the other person. He didn't try to take control of the whole situation. He came from a place of peace at all times, and we want to do that. And if we are not getting the response or cooperation we need from the person's situation, we need to gracefully say, you know what, let me think about this a little more, and let us regroup. Let me call you in a couple of days, and we'll get together and talk again. Is that okay? Is that okay? You always want to ask the other person how they feel about things, and let them know that you do care about their feelings. You have feelings too, but somehow it's not quite meshing or working, so we need to step back. We need to refresh. We need to regroup, and we need to just give each other some space. It's really, really important. You'd be amazed when people hear that you're listening, you care, and you're trying to respect their feelings as well as your own. You'd be amazed at how things can shift.
I love this. I love this. What I am hearing is that we're taking a pause for a moment. We're taking a pause, and when you're saying regroup, and I love that you're saying that, regroup, and ask them if they're okay. Many times we don't ask the other person, is that okay with you, that we, that we regroup, that we table this for a moment, that we talk about this a little later. So I really love that you're saying that, Dr. Lorraine. It's very important to do that. That whole taking a pause for me, I've learned to do that in my life, and it really works.
And, sometimes there are situations and circumstances where we have to think quickly, and we don't have time to try to make peace with anyone. Sometimes things come up, and whenever we are feeling like we are in a situation where there's definitively nowhere to go, there's nothing you can say, and or it's a matter of safety and you need to act quickly, you want to just get away from the situation as quickly as you can. If you are in a situation where you are amidst peers and there's something occurring that you're not in agreement with, and you do not feel like you want to go against your peers, all you really have to do is say, thank you for tonight, it's time for me to go, thank you everyone, have a blessed night, and you leave. You don't have to explain yourself. Well, why are you leaving? Well, why this? Well, why that? Hey, I got to get going. Hey, I'll talk to you later. So what you're doing is you're keeping peace, you're protecting yourself, and then you rethink that group of people. Do I really want to keep associating? You have to think about the people that you connect with, and you have to think about where their ideals lie and what is important to them. Do you share the same ideas? Do you have the same general foundation, of ideas and living and peace, etc., faith, if you will, etc.? It's very, very important. You can have relationships with multiple people at different levels, and you can pace yourself and you can identify your boundaries with other people, and you can do it in a very respectful way. So I'm trying to answer what I think answers to questions that the audience might have. Is there anyone out there that has a question or would like to know about something that has not been mentioned?
Well, if they do, they can, if they're on, they can let us know that they're on, and we can answer a question. But I really think that you have been really hitting a lot of the
I've given them a lot to think about.
Yeah. Now they may.
And I do want to share my email, because there may be people that just have a question that they're not able to ask on the air. My email is the number 30heavenly@gmail.com. And if you do email me, please put in the subject line, put radio show. Just put radio, if you will, and I will know you are from the show, because I get a lot of emails. So I open the ones that are priority and or I know that I'm going to receive from someone. So that's what I would share with you. And just remember that I will get back to you 48 to 72 hours. I'll do my best to get back to you sooner. I do get multiple emails, but it's okay. If I can help someone or direct someone, that would be fine. So, Michelle, what else would you like to bring up tonight? What else would you like to cover?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't want to give them too much on our first night. Honestly, you have really shared a lot. So I want them to be able to really process it. No, seriously. I want them to really process that, because we gave the definition, which I want to give a definition again, because a lot of times people don't know what they're going through or what it is, and, give it a name. So I just want to give the definition one more time. And I do have a definition also from the American Psychological Association. And it is trauma.
You can give it.
Okay. So trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event, like an accident, a sexual assault, or natural disaster. Immediately after the event, shock and denial are typical. Longer-term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headaches or nausea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I want to give that because, again, I remember when it was time for me to go to therapy and there were all these things happening to me, I did not know what the name of these things that were happening to me. So I want them to understand what trauma is, if this is something that that you've experienced and is causing some of these other things that we talked about tonight, some of these symptoms, some of these effects, some of those things. We want you to really get professional help. And, of course, Dr. Lorraine, who has over 33 years of experience with this, has given you her email address if you have some questions, because sometimes people don't feel comfortable going to a therapist, right, or just sitting in the office, but they have questions and they just want to get a few answers. So you guys have her email address, which she is going to give again at the end of the show. We're going to make sure you have all of the contact information. And I think that we have given some really good stuff to hold them until we meet again on next month, which is March, and I believe it's the 6th. So today is the 6th, right? So March 6th will be our next show for the trauma piece. And we do have another show coming up next week, but it'll be another topic. But you and I will continue to meet every first Sunday, and we'll talk about different parts of trauma and just different things that we can do to help. There's so many layers to this that you can't cover it all in one night.
I
So
do want to give a message to the audience, and that is any ideas that you have and any feedback you have, please give to Michelle. Please let her know so that as her and I work together to give you our very best in each show, we will know if there's anything specific that perhaps we haven't mentioned or talked about that you really would like more information on. So please do that, and I thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So as we get ready to come to the end, and we're going to have some final thoughts and some things like that, I do want to give a couple of numbers out because we talked about a few things here, and so I want to make sure that we always leave you with resources that can help you. And so we did mention suicide on this show tonight, and we did mention domestic violence on this show tonight. So I'm going to give you the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. They are available 24 hours a day. Their number is 800-273-8255. Again, that's 800-273-8255. And the National Domestic Violence Hotline number, which is available 24/7, 365 days of the year. 800-799-7233. Again, that's 800-799-7233. If you need to get in touch with me, my email address is Lady Michelle Speaks. That's all one word, 2 L's in the Michelle. Lady Michelle Speaks at gmail.com. I can be reached on Instagram as well. You can follow me at Lady Michelle Speaks. You can follow me on Facebook at Heal and Rebuild, Unbreakable Spirit on Facebook. Dr. Lorraine, please give them your information one more time.
Okay, I'm going to give you the email, which is the 30, the word heavenly, at gmail.com. And in the subject line, please put radio, and I will know to open your email immediately. And I thank everyone that has joined. Please bring your friends on. Please share. This is a wonderful program, and I thank you, Michelle, for inviting me.
Thank you. So you have given us your final thoughts, or do you have another final thought, or did you ever give? Okay.
Well, I think what I think my final thought is this: remember the stars in the sky. Remember the blue vaulted sky. Remember the bright sunshine. Remember the sea, the water, the ocean. Water is symbolic of the Holy Spirit. And water is the cleansing that we get in our baptism ritual. And also, Jesus gave us all the breath of life. So whenever you are feeling compromised in any way, take a step back, take a deep, long, slow breath, slow exhale, and then move forward. Allow yourself to bring down those inner stress levels so you don't either overreact and or you don't compromise yourself emotionally to the degree you can't function. So that's just a little end note for everyone.
Awesome. Well, my final thoughts are going to be, I know that we always say be kind to one another, but I want to go a step further, and I want to say be kind to yourself. And so that's what I want to say to you tonight. Please be sure to tune in next Sunday. We have a special guest. Did you like the song that you heard in the beginning of this program, the theme song for our show? Well, we have the producer, the writer and producer of that song. We have him next week. He's going to talk about some of his special projects and some things that he has done to help with music those who go through domestic violence. So we're going to have him next week, so be sure to tune in next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I just want to thank everyone for this. Was just an amazing show. This was our first of many episodes of Speak Your Piece with Lady Michelle. And I just want to thank everyone again. I want to thank our amazing producer. And so as we get ready to play our song and get up out of here, I just want to say to everyone, and I want to remind everyone, all of my thrivers, I want to say, when you love yourself, you are healed. And when you are healed, you are loved. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Lorraine.
Michelle.
I
Thank
love
you
all. Have a great one.
Good night.
Good night.
Lady Michelle. I know what you've been through. Don't think that it's only you, it's only you. Yeah. Pick your head up, get up. It's only right. Take back your life. Pick your head up, get up. Take back your life. And come and talk to me. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace out loud. Speak your peace. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace out your mouth. Hey, speak your peace. Come and talk to me. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Speak your peace. Don't look back. No, I don't care. Speak your peace in your atmosphere.